Okay. Hi, this is Ted Nguyen with Ted Nguyen USA doing a special broadcast. And people always ask me, where is my next travel venture? I cannot guarantee that this will be the next one, but this is something that will be in the top of the list. And with that in mind, I've got a special guest here. His name is Luke Ford, and he is from a special place near and dear to my heart. That's my birthplace in Vietnam, in central Vietnam to be specific. And people want to know where this special place is, and I'll give you a hint. It's a place that holds the record for having the largest cave in the world. So with that, Luke, introduce yourself and tell us where you are in central Vietnam.
Hello, everyone, and Ted, thanks for having me here. I am now in a very small minority village in central Vietnam. I'll show you where I am. It's a very difficult place to work, as you can see.
Well, that is spectacular.
Just goes on and on like that. We're surrounded by karst mountains here, and beautiful river and peanut fields and buffaloes and some of the friendliest people I ever met. One of the reasons I stayed here. And we're very fortunate here in central Vietnam, specifically Quang Binh province. We have a lot of caves and some very, very big caves, including Doong Cave, which is the world's biggest cave here. So I work for a company, Oxalis Adventure Tours, and we operate the caving tours and trekking, jungle trekking all around Quang Binh province in central Vietnam. And we take small groups out every other day to see some of the wild jungle of central Vietnam, which is spectacular.
But most people know Vietnam is a war. In fact, my family fled from war-torn Vietnam back in the 1975s. But Vietnam is really opening up, especially for tourists. I mean, it's got natural beauty. And for the country the size of California, it packs a mean punch, meaning there's so much of diversity of the nation itself. You've got the beautiful mountains of the north, and you also have the mountains of the central highlands. You've got rice paddies in both this Red River Delta and the Mekong Delta, as
Mm.
well as the bucolic beaches of Vietnam
Yes.
as well. So tell us about the uniqueness of that particular area and what makes it so special.
Yep. I mean, Vietnam is an incredible place, and from north to south, we have everything. Some of the best actually the best beaches in the world. We have incredible mountains and everything you imagine when you think of Asia, with terraced rice fields and people working in the fields and busy small streets and food stalls, and Vietnam has everything. And what's different about Quang Binh province, it's the most narrowest point on the map in Vietnam. It was also one of the most heavily bombed areas. It's one of the poorest regions of Vietnam, and yet one of the most friendliest, most beautiful. Just everything about this place is just fantastic. It's also very not many tourists.
Mhm.
So when you're coming here, you're really seeing what is the rural Vietnam. And because of the proximity to Laos and all the jungles through here, it makes for a very, very interesting holiday, because we also have beaches in Quang Binh, so we have from the beach to the jungle, it's just 30 or 40 minutes drive. And we can go really far into the jungle, and it's something that maybe you imagine the Amazon or something, but we have it here in Vietnam as well. The place where I am today, we have these beautiful valleys and secluded lagoons, just like you imagine off the movie The Beach or something, where to get to you have to swim under a mountain, then swim under another mountain, and then you come out to this waterfall in this lush lagoon with jungle all around and birds, and just incredible place. So it's very different from the rest of Vietnam in that, firstly, there's a lot of tourists and people in the rest of Vietnam. There's also, most major tourism areas have been developed for tourism and set up with everything, hotels and everything. Here, there's nothing, and that's a good thing. We do have some hotels and resorts, most of our trips include, revolve around spending a few nights out in the jungle. So it's perfect for something completely different.
Mhm.
Um,
So tell us
most
about the cave. I mean, the cave was
okay,
discovered just recently.
okay,
It's really hard to imagine that there was a cave so grand and such spectacular,
yeah.
so big that was just recently discovered. So walk us through that. How was it discovered, and describe the cave itself.
Mm. So particularly Sondong Cave, it's the largest in the world. It was only recently discovered 2009, 2010. Actually, I should say explored. A local man, Mr. Ho Kang, he found the cave in 1990, but he was just hiding from the storm, and he heard the noise of a wind below, but he was too fearful to go inside. It's also a very big drop. So he never explored it, but he
So he
knew
was a
there was something.
fisherman, right? He was a fisherman that was
He
trying
was,
to cover from the storm.
yeah, actually, he was a jungle man. So
Mm.
he was out hunting in the jungle, and he'd gone very far and just by himself. So when heard the noise from the cave, he never went in. It's only a very small entrance for such a big cave. And years later, the British Cave Research Association came out here and became very good friends with Mr. Ho Kang. And when they said to him, listen, we're finding a big cave, he said he may know something, but he lost it years ago. So they spent a lot of time looking again where this entrance might be, and they eventually found it again and explored in 2010 and took National Geographic there, which has a great documentary available on, I think it's on YouTube, some snippets of it. And yeah, they went in there and they found the world's biggest cave. It's so big that you can fit in the smallest passage a 40-story Manhattan block in one small passage. So you're caving, but you're more walking in a very, very big tunnel, big chamber. It's incredible. You can't imagine it.
And is it
Um,
true there's a river that actually runs through this cave as well?
Very big river. Uh, so much so that in August we will shut down all tours. It becomes far too dangerous in the cave, and we will reopen again in February. The river rises very high inside the cave. It's a lot of water from all around the mountains that come. That's why the big caves are so big here, because the limestone is very porous, and when you get such huge amounts of water coming through here with the flood season, it just carves out these massive caves all around Quang Binh.
And
But there's also,
I'm
sorry.
also seeing this big passage why
Mm,
with sunlight, and it's creating its own
mm,
ecosystem with all these beautiful plants, and it's like a forest with its opening of this cave as well. So it's spectacular
exactly.
photographs from the National Geographic. So describe
Yeah.
some of the plant life and the
Yeah.
uniqueness of this.
That's what makes the cave actually so unique around the world. It's not just a big cave. If it was a big cave, it might be interesting to visit, but it's not. It's going to be dark, and with a headlight, maybe you can see a few things. But what makes Sondong so spectacular is that there are two. They're called dolines, so two shafts that have parts of the cave that have collapsed, and the collapsed areas have allowed sunlight in. Now, from the campsite to the top, when you're looking on a diagonal, it's hundreds of meters to the top, and that allows the sunlight to come in and, of course, plant life to grow. So we have two sections: one a small jungle section, and one a very large jungle, and it's a proper jungle. When you're walking through there, you feel like you are walking through any other jungle, but you're hundreds of meters below the earth. Hornbills, monkeys, it's just like a virgin rainforest, a virgin jungle that no one has ever seen before, and that's what makes it spectacular. It's got even every week they're finding new species, and Howard told me the other day they found 2 new species of animals down there, just some small scorpion and small fish. But it's not every day you can come across something like that, and it to be, I think, a world wonder. Um,
So,
so yeah,
so So how can people actually see that? Is there a hotel, or is there special accommodations that people can actually visit and experience in real life?
it's, there's
This,
certainly no hotels. It's a 1.5 to 2 days trek just to reach the cave. You then spend 3 nights trekking through the cave. and some of the most beautiful campsites you can ever imagine in the world. You may have seen the photos on National Geographic. And then 2 days back to the Ho Chi Minh Trail, the old Road 20, and then in the car and another 45 minutes back to town. So it's very remote. There's no hotels. There's nothing like that. And we are trying very hard to ensure that there's no development like that anywhere near the cave, because it's so spectacular to be kept in such a unique state. The only way to visit at the moment is the 6-day tour, or more of an expedition. We take 8 people per week with the original explorers of the cave and Mr. Ho Kang, who found the cave. Each 8 guests we have a team of about 25 to 30 porters, cooks, safety experts, caving guides, national park rangers and police. It's a very big team to do this expedition. It's nothing short of Everest, but underground. And that's actually all sold out for this year. The waiting list for next year is significant. So if anyone's interested to go, you have to contact us very quickly, because it's very hard to get on the trip. We want to keep the numbers very small to preserve the cave. And this year, only 220 people maximum will be allowed to visit. And that's our way of preserving the cave.
Wow, that's so incredible. So what type of person do you have to be in good shape? Do you feel, tell us about the...
You definitely have to be in shape. It's not easy. It's, like I said, anyone that wants to do 6 days trekking, you need some decent or basic level of fitness. You don't need any technical experience caving. Our guests are not all cavers or big mountain adventurers. Definitely some are. But we also have a lot of executives and corporates and people who like to stay fit, but they're not, running marathons every weekend. They're just, they like to work out occasionally, go on treks on the weekend, and they can do Sondong fine. It is challenging, but it's not too bad if you have some level of fitness.
So you're an Aussie, right? So how did you end up in Vietnam from Australia?
Well, that's a very long story. Essentially, I was living in Czech Republic. Actually, before that, I'd done my international business degree with a focus on Vietnam, randomly, just pulling a name out of a hat. Started my interest with this country. I was then living in Vietnam, which has a very high population of Vietnamese people living there in Czech Republic. And I was actually talking to my friend about this last night, that in Czech Republic, all the little stores are owned by Vietnamese, and I had these friends in the neighborhood and the restaurants, and I was eating pho for breakfast every morning, living in Europe. What's wrong with me? So there was an opportunity to move to Hanoi, and I grasped it and went over there, and I've been in Vietnam now for 4 years. But particularly for this area, I was just coming here as a traveler, and I fell in love with it and realized I'd like to stay and help out and do what I can to support the growth.
Well, that's great. That's amazing. Tell us about the technology and the work that you're involved in now, and what are some of the projects that you have to help not only the country progress, but then also the tourism? Sure.
Specifically with Oxalis now, it's mainly just promoting the area and wherever possible using Twitter and Facebook, and of course a lot of working with a lot of bloggers and getting them to come here and write stories. And it's not too hard. When I show them some photos, anyone is willing to come. It's very easy to do that. In terms of the work previously in Vietnam I was involved in, we were trying to, we were doing a lot of capacity building to build the knowledge of the local people, particularly small accommodation owners and guest houses, how to basically take bookings online. We were setting up for people like Booking.com to come in and channel their product, their technology, with a small B&B or guest house located in the middle of the, Vietnam. Before we were here, you can't just call up the hotel and say, connect my inventory to our booking system and we'll charge you commission. There's a lot of work that has to be done. So the company before I was at Oxalis, I did that for 3 years here. It's very interesting, and we started, that project was funded originally by the World Bank, IFC, and when that started, internet had just launched in Vietnam, And so from then till now, it's one of the fastest adopting countries for the internet in the world. And I think a huge popularity, I don't know the exact figures, but there's a lot of people now on the internet everywhere you go. Even the village that I'm in right now, you wouldn't believe how small this is. And I've got quite good internet connection. We're having a Google Hangout with Ted Moon.
That's great. I can actually hear and understand the what's being spoken, which is pretty amazing as well. So I've kept up with the language itself. So can you pan outside, give us another shot of the beautiful vista, and narrate what you're seeing also. Talk about what you're seeing.
Okay, where can I start? This is our small little, it's really bright here, so I'll try and stay under cover. This is one of our small little houses we use for all of our briefings. So before we take a trip to the jungle, we have a very detailed safety briefing and, you know, talk about how to trek safely and what to do in the cave if there's an accident, and that's priority for us. Over here, we have the river. It looks quite beautiful right now. Every year, this river rises. I don't know if you can see that telephone pole here. You see a telephone pole? The water goes above that telephone pole and stays there for a few weeks. So the village over there, which you might be able to see, that village goes underwater. So it's very hard here. They only have one crop per year, one harvest. So it's not a lot of money. So fortunately now with the tours, we have about 40 or 50 local jungle boys from this village just working with us now and giving them a good income. But yeah, with the floods coming every year, it pretty much stops everything. It's quite difficult. It actually looks a bit like Ha Long Bay when the floods come here with all the mountains.
Mm-hmm. And if people don't know Ha Long Bay, it's a beautiful bay off of northern Vietnam. It's just gorgeous with the mountains like that. So it looks almost exactly like Ha Long Bay. So
yeah, exactly.
You mentioned the jungle people. Like, are they ethnic Vietnamese? Or are they ethnic mountain?
There are a lot of Kin people, which are the Vietnamese that live here. Eat rice, no. What foot? There are a lot of Kin people here, but this is a Muon. I don't know if I'm saying it correctly. Muon people.
Yeah, the minority people in Vietnam. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's also very interesting minority people around here. There's a group that live, we just passed the village coming here, they're called Rook. And the Rook people were one of the last, they were only discovered by Western people or Vietnamese people 25 years ago. Before that, they were completely isolated from the New World. So they're now living in a small village, a very small minority group, but this area is dotted with minorities. So every trip that we run into the caves, depending on where the cave is, we have a different minority people helping us because they know the land the best, they know the area, and of course it's just a different source of income for them. But yeah, it's very interesting.
All right. Well, thank you so much. I mean, you know, so where can people find out more information if they want to get on the waiting list to do this magnificent trek to see the world's largest cave? And what is the name of it? Dom Soon? Or is it Dom Hoon?
The biggest cave is Sondong Cave. Sondong. Sondong means mountain river. It is fully booked for this year. People can go on the waiting list for next year. It's $3,000 per person. It is a challenge, but what I recommend to people do if they feel that's too long or too expensive for them, we have another place called Hang En, the third largest. It's still spectacular. You can do that on a 2-day. And we also have the Tulan cave system, which is where I am at the moment. And we have about 8 or 9 caves here, a lot of underground rivers. And you can actually come here just for 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, or 4 days. And here we will have we have some homestays here. We will work with local people. So many options. The best is to go to the website oxalis.com.vn and have a look at what we offer there.
Great. So thank you so much for chatting with us. That's Luke Ford. Taking us a little bit of a tour of the world's largest cave in my birthplace of Vietnam. So I'm so excited to share this information with you. And I'm going to post the photos as well as some other information about this cave. And who knows, maybe soon I will be joining Luke on an expedition to the world's largest cave. So thank you so much, Luke.
Look forward to it. Thanks, Ted.